Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Blind Press YouTube channel. And here we are at the coffee stream once more on this gross, rainy, cold-ass day. I hope everyone's doing well. I hope everyone's had a good night. Haha, hi, Mr. Shadow. Yes, you are first. I hope everyone's doing well. Got my coffee here. Got a few stories for you. Good morning, Nico. Morning, Chadwick. All the usual suspects starting to trickle in. It's great to see everyone. Just taking a sip of my coffee here. So, I hope everybody's had a good night. Got some interesting stories for you. We'll save the titular story for a little bit later. I'm just gonna open up my Twitter DMs here. Get right into the fun things. Nico, yes, he's feeling much better. I think he was having an allergy thing because we've got forced air vents in our house for heating, and we're thinking that there's a bunch of dust because he was starting to feel better pretty quickly yesterday. So we figured it was just an allergy thing. So he went to school today. So yeah, he's back at school with his friends. Let's see here. And while I'm getting all of this set up, I'll just shill my Streamlabs and Patreon. Links are in the description. If you go to either patreon.com/blindpress or streamlabs.com/blindpress, those are the ways to support the channel. And I do appreciate all of the way. I do appreciate it as much as the likes and the shares. It's amazing that you guys really like this content, and I'm glad to provide it for you. So, here's this ridiculous story, an opinion piece from the Washington Post. Perspective. Dear dads, your daughters told me about your assaults. This is why they never told you. That's so here. This is gonna be. I read some of this, and it's pretty bad. So let's just get to the headline here. And it's by Monica Hesse, I believe. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. So, here we go.
A man emailed recently in response to something I'd written about street harassment. He was so glad, he said, that his college-age daughter never experienced anything like that. Less than a day later, he wrote again. They had just talked. She told him she'd been harassed many, many times, including that week. She hadn't ever shared this, because she wanted to protect him from her pain. You are currently on for all the stereotypes that linger about women being too fragile or emotional. These past weeks have revealed what many women already knew. A lot of effort goes into protecting men we love from bad things that happen to us. And a lot of fathers are closer to bad things than they'll ever know. 90% loaded. 90.
So why do you have to protect your father from what happened to you?
Link. Monica Hesse.
Hello, Jesse. Like, seriously, why do you need to protect your... Why do you need to protect your father from
Stereotypes that
what happened to you. Why wouldn't you ask him for your help? Like, this is all of these problems that people say, oh, I didn't want to tell my dad because, he was abusive and he would have hurt me. Or, oh, I didn't want to tell my dad because I didn't want him to kill the guy and go to jail. Or, oh, I didn't tell my dad. Like, those are things that you have decided that your dad is going to do. You don't know what your dad's going to do. This sounds like it's blaming the dads for their fears of how they'll react. I get that, Nico. I was afraid to tell my parents about my being depressed and being suicidal. But I I was more afraid of being suicidal, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Two of my daughters have told me stories that I had never heard before about things that happened to them in high school. Fox News anchor Chris Wallace mused on air last Thursday, as he urged skeptical viewers to carefully consider the testimony of Christine Blasey Ford. You are currently on a text element inside of.
I haven't heard Chris Wallace talk about that. I've seen tweets that mention that he spoke about his daughters coming to him. But that is like the worst quote that you can use for this article because that is the vaguest quote ever. There are things that my daughters have told me about things that have happened in high school. Well, what things? That's not very, I don't know. That's pretty vague.
If you are a father who hasn't heard these stories, that doesn't mean they don't exist. They've been pouring into my inbox almost every day. You are to the father of the young woman who was assaulted by the student athlete she was hired to tutor. She never told you because she didn't want to break your heart, but she told me, in a long email, because the memory of it was breaking her own heart and she'd spent 5 years replaying it. You are currently on a text element.
Then go to the police. That doesn't stop you from going to the police. I don't.
To the father of the junior high student who was pinned down and undressed at a gathering 30 years ago. She didn't tell you because she didn't want to see you cry, but she told me that she still remembers every detail. You are currently.
That's. I understand that you don't want your parents to go through, like, I didn't want to tell my parents what happened to me because I didn't want them to be worried about me, but they needed to know. Like, nobody's saying that dealing with this is easy. I think that's what people on the left are trying to say, that centrists and people on the right think that telling people about sexual assault is just easy. No, that's not what they're saying at all. That's not what I'm saying at all. I don't. I think that, like, it's hard to tell people that you love that something happened to you like that, but it's harder to go it alone. And you would be surprised at how well people will rally around, like, people who actually love you will rally around you. And if they don't, that's really shitty. And I'm really sorry that, like, because I have a friend who that happened to. Her own mother turned against her. But my friend got herself out of there. And, like, it was hard for her. She was 16. She had to run away from home and, like, run literally across the country to get out of that situation and away from her mother. But she did it, and it sucks. Like, you can't You can't not say anything because you don't want people around you to feel bad. Like how that's not a legal system issue. That's a that's a personal thing, and that's something that we have to get over as victims of anything. If we want things to actually be brought to justice, we got to grit our teeth and go do the hard work because it will be worth it in the end.
To the father of the teenager who was raped at a party, you don't know about this, because she was certain that if you knew, you would kill her attacker and go to prison, and it would be her fault. You are currently on a text element.
But how would she know that? Like that's a what if scenario that happens when you're panicked after what happened to you.
To the father of the son who was assaulted by an older man, I wish I could tell you more about what happened to him, but he wouldn't tell me, and he definitely won't tell you, because manliness is important to you, he says. To all the fathers of all the silent victims, your children are quietly carrying these stories, not because they can't handle their emotions, but because they're worried that you can. They are worried that your emotions will have too many consequences, or they fear you won't think of them the same way, or that you'll be distraught because you didn't protect them. 50% loaded. It meant I would have to talk about something sexual. One woman wrote me about why it took her decades to tell her father about an assault at a pool party when she was 10, and that was a completely taboo subject. You are currently on a text element.
Gaslighting. Exactly, Mr. Shadow. That says a whole lot of what you think about your own father. Yeah. The biggest issue was telling my parents anything was because of my stepmother. Yeah, I had a crazy stepmother as well, Nico. I've yeah, believe me. Ah, I don't need two of me. Go away. Yeah, Nico, I had a crazy stepmother as well. This is yeah.
I have been thinking lately about taboos, and how many of them exist because women don't want to make men uncomfortable with lady pain, a broad spectrum that includes cramps, breastfeeding, the viscera of childbirth, the achiness of menstruation.
Okay, women always want men to know about the viscera of childbirth. Don't bullshit me. What the fuck? Women are always saying how men don't understand childbirth and all this shit. Don't fucking lie. Oof, that's rough, Nico. Hi, a social rec. Let me do your thinking for you. Yeah. It also depends on how your family acts on telling. Yes, it does. Like I said, my best friend's family basically blamed her for what happened. Or her mother blamed her for what happened. Um, so I do understand that sometimes family are complete assholes. Um, but again, and this is going to sound really harsh, but that's not a legal system issue. That's not, and it has to. It it really sucks, but you gotta just grit your teeth and get through it because you'll it will help you get closure afterwards. Like you'll feel like you've done something.
Some grown men still react to tampons as if they're grenades, and as a result, many grown women still furtively pass them between ourselves in shadowy corridors, so nobody else feels awkward.
No,
You
no,
are
not the
currently.
tampons. No.
It's silly, and we must know this at some level, but if the mention of Tampax makes a man need a fainting couch, is it any wonder we decide he's not ready to hear messier stories?
You know, if this were written by a man. Oh, you know what, dude? Do you want me to Nico, I didn't mean to bring up any issues for you, dude. Um, this story kind of hit me hard as well, and I wanted to to rant about it a little bit. But you know what? Um, I think we're going to. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of a whole bunch more of this. Yeah, we're gonna move on to something like lighter and worth laughing about because I think we need a laugh. It's fine, dude. But it's a pretty long article and it's the same thing over and over again. So we'll we'll move on because it's just different stories about how different people are uh, different people don't want to tell their dads for different reasons. But I buy my daughter's tampons when she's here. Yeah, exactly. Nope, you're right. A social wreck internalizing assault because you convinced yourself how others will respond is not anyone else's fault. Yep. Yep, parts of the past are a mixed bag. Yeah, exactly. Hello, Step Talk. How are you? So, this one is about the new USMCA agreement. Doug Ford calls for federal compensation for farmers affected by the dairy agreements. Which is actually a fair request. Because now the US has well, the article will explain it. Ford gets his wish for federal compensation for farmers affected by the USMCA. Is the title of this article.
Doug Ford says the federal government should be on the hook to compensate Ontario industries for the USMCA deal. David Donnelly /CBC.
He's not wrong, and I don't really like saying that because Ford's a kind of special, but he's not wrong.
Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland says farmers will receive compensation from the federal government in the Fresh Loin NAFTA replacement deal, called the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, or USMCA. That comes just hours after Ontario Premier Doug Ford began calling for that compensation. You are currently on a farmers need the support of the federal government, Ford said on Monday morning at Queen's Park. List one item. You are currently bullet link. Dairy concessions at end of list. List one item. Bullet link. End of list. List one item. Bullet end of list.
There's a whole bunch of articles.
The new USMCA deal would give American farmers greater access to Canada's dairy industry, a sticking point during negotiations that generated ire from farmers and premiers alike. Significantly, it would dismantle Canada's Class 7 dairy ingredient pricing strategy, which prices Canadian skim milk low to remove the incentive for dairy processors to use American products.
So yeah, there was this. Hey, Ghost Dog. So there was a law that stated, or that kept, or I would say a regulation that kept skim milk low, like the cost of making skim milk low in Canada, so that they wouldn't start using American products, so that dairy farmers would still have it would still be worth making. But that is gone now. And the US now has access to our dairy. So let's read on here.
I've got a knot in the pit of my stomach, said Caledon, Ontario dairy farmer Peter Armstrong about the loss of Class 7, explaining that he expected it to take a huge slice out of the dairy market. Prior to Freeland's statement, Ontario Trade Minister Jim Wilson was fiery, telling the House that you're darn right we're going to hold the federal government's feet to the fire. It's not the Ontario taxpayer that should foot the bill for a federally negotiated agreement, Wilson continued. You are currently on a text.
He's not wrong.
Twitter tweet, frame. Canada had also worked to secure an exemption from steel and aluminum tariffs, but it became clear the Trump administration wasn't budging easily. Though a source told CBC that Canada's still hoping for those duties to be gone by the time the deal is signed, Ford said Monday that the federal government should support those industries as well, along with the Ontario auto industry. You are currently Prime Minister Justin Trudeau spoke with provincial and territorial premiers this morning. Link. CB link. Link. Heading level 2. Relate.
Oh, that's all they've got to say. He spoke with provincial and territorial leaders this morning. But see, this is why I keep saying, like, I have to keep defending Doug Ford. It sucks. And we now get peanuts from Canada. Who knew? I didn't. Oh, you constantly miss the streams. Oh, it's okay, Aries. Somehow the left will turn this into a bad thing. Milk is a symbol for white power. Drink loads of milk. Already on it. So yeah, the farmers are not happy. And Doug Ford is hoping to hold them or hold the federal government responsible. Now here's a slightly terrifying story. The first social network of brains lets people transmit thoughts to each other's heads. We are the Borg. When I saw this, I had to send this to myself. Hi, Zach Lumbee, how are you? No. Let's see here. BrainNet allows collaborative problem solving using brain-to-brain communication. That's terrifying. This is dated September 29th.
You are currently the ability to send thoughts directly to another person's brain is the stuff of science fiction. At least, it used to be. Heading level 5. Recommended for you. List 5. Zip link. End of in recent years, physicists and neuroscientists have developed an array of tools that can send certain kinds of thoughts and transmit information about them into other brains. That has made brain-to-brain communication a reality. These tools include electroencephalograms, EEGs, that record electrical activity in the brain, and transcranial magnetic stimulation, TMS, which can transmit information into the brain. Sign up for the download. Your email. Sign by link. Private for more detail. In 2015, Andreas Stocko and his colleagues at the University of Washington in Seattle used this gear to connect two people via a brain-to-brain interface. The people then played a 20 questions type game. Okay. An obvious next step is to allow several people to join such a conversation, and today Stocko and his colleagues announced they have achieved this using a world-first brain-to-brain network. The network, which they call BrainNet, allows a small group to play a collaborative Tetris-like game. Our results raise the possibility of future brain-to-brain interfaces that enable cooperative problem-solving by humans using a social network of connected brains, they say. You are current. That's fucking terrifying. Resistance is futile, yeah. Yeah. Singularity is coming. Wahahaha. So telepathically Borg, yeah. Let's not start sending psychic messages. Yeah, this can't possibly go wrong in any way. Yeah, exactly, Mr. Shadow. Why do they think Trump wouldn't be a hard businessman? I don't know. The needs of the individual. Aries needs more dopamine. James Cameron tried to warn us, yes. Can't assimilate dead brain matter. Assimilation is imminent. My mind is not safe for others, yeah. Technology behind the network is relatively straightforward. EEGs measure the electrical activity of the brain. They consist of a number of electrodes placed on the skull that can pick up electrical activity in the brain. Brain-to-brain interface JPG image. A key idea is that people can change the signals their brain produces relatively easily. For example, brain signals can easily become entrained with external ones. So watching a light flashing at 15 Hz causes the brain to emit a strong electrical signal at the same frequency. Switching attention to a light flashing at 17 Hz changes the frequency of the brain signal in a way an EEG can spot relatively easily. You are currently on... Okay, this is some, like... Why do I see some, like, nefarious
intelligence operations being used for this shit.
TMS manipulates brain activity by inducing electrical activity in specific brain areas. For example, a magnetic pulse focused onto the occipital cortex triggers the sensation of seeing a flash of light, known as a phosphene. Together, these devices make it possible to send and receive signals directly to and from the brain, but nobody has created a network that allows group communication, until now. You are currently on a
We are the hive, you will think like us. Yes. Perhaps when we share a mind, people will see the world like I do. Maybe. Maybe.
Stocko and his colleagues have created a network that allows 3 individuals to send and receive information directly to their brains. They say the network is easily scalable and limited only by the availability of EEG and TMS devices. You are currently the proof of principle network connects 3 people, 2 senders and 1 person able to receive and transmit, all in separate rooms and unable to communicate conventionally. The group together has to solve a Tetris-like game in which a falling block has to be rotated so that it fits into a space at the bottom of the screen. The 2 senders, wearing EEGs, can both see the full screen. The game is designed so the shape of the descending block fits in the bottom row either if it is rotated by 180 degrees or if it is not rotated. The senders have to decide which and broadcast the information to the 3rd member of the group. To do this, they vary the signal their brains produce. If the EEG picks up a 15 Hz signal from their brains, it moves the cursor toward the right-hand side of the screen. When the cursor reaches the right-hand side, the device sends a signal to the receiver to rotate the block. The senders can control their brain signals by staring at LEDs on either side of the screen, one flashing at 15 Hz and the other at 17 Hz. The receiver, attached to an EEG and a TMS, has a different task. The receiver can see only the top half of the Tetris screen, and so can see the block but not how it should be rotated. However, the receiver receives signals via the TMS from each sender, saying either rotate or do not rotate. You are currently on a text element.
Wow.
The signals consist of a single phosphene to indicate the block must be rotated or no flash of light to indicate that it should not be rotated, so the data rate is low, just 1 bit per interaction. You are currently on a text element. Having received data from both senders, the receiver performs the action, but crucially, the game allows for another round of interaction. You are currently on a text element. The senders can see the block falling and so can determine whether the receiver has made the right call and transmit the next course of action, either rotate or not, in another round of communication. You are currently on a text element.
This is like weird.
This allows the researchers to have some fun. In some of the trials, they deliberately change the information from one sender to see if the receiver can determine whether to ignore it. That introduces an element of error often reflected in real social situations. You are currently on a text element. But the question they investigate is whether humans can work out what to do when the data rates are so low. It turns out humans, being social animals, can distinguish between the correct and false information using the brain-to-brain protocol alone. You are currently on a text element.
So the researchers are doing shit with so yeah. And we think groupthink is bad now. Yeah. No flashy lights. There's way too much potential for evil with things like this. Yeah. But it could trigger epilepsy. Yeah. See, this is what I'm worried about. How do they know this won't fuck up the brain eventually?
That's interesting work that paves the way for more complex networks. The team says the information travels across a bespoke network set up between 3 rooms in their labs. However, there is no reason why the network cannot be extended to the internet, allowing participants around the world to collaborate.
Oh God.
Currently on a tech.
Oh God. That just doesn't sound like it would end well.
A cloud-based brain-to-brain interface server could direct information transmission between any set of devices on the brain-to-brain interface network and make it globally operable through the internet.
A cloud,
thereby allowing cloud-based interactions between brains on a global scale. Stocko and his colleagues say, the pursuit of such brain-to-brain interfaces has the potential to not only open new frontiers in human communication and collaboration but also provide us with a deeper understanding of the human brain.
What?
Fascinating stuff. Ref. You are currently.
That's just terrifying. That's fucking no. Kill it with fire. No. Your brain hooked up to the internet. Yeah, no. Skynet is here. Yep. Yeah, this isn't going to end well, says Chadwick. Yeah, no, it's not. It's not. It's really, really not. It's yeah. Oh, we read that part already. And now Where is that? Clapping replaced by jazz hands at Manchester University. Hence the title of this stream. Jazz hands. So they're working on an actual full dive system. Yeah. Is this covered in Fortuna? Imagine what hackers would try to do with that. Yeah, exactly. That's just, yeah, I'm going to the mountains. Yes. The end is actually upon us. Yep. Yep. Where is that heading?
End of heading level 1. Clapping to be replaced by jazz hands at Manchester Student Union events. Students at University of Manchester will use jazz hands to express their support rather than clapping, in line with British Sign Language (BSL), to make events more accessible to those with disabilities.
So yeah.
Share Facebook, Twitter, link, Flipboard, link, 2003 link, comments, link, by Charlotte Dobson, 1021, link, news. Enter your postcode to community update. Go button, link, by link, sponsor link, bullet link. Get daily updates directly to your subscribe. CR link, private link. Man is student. The traditional form is link. Manchester University is students' union and move to make student events more accessible. Link. Clapping and hooping have been banned at. Link is students' union and move to make student events more accessible. The traditional form of clapping has been ditched in favor of the British Sign Language (BSL) equivalent, known to many as jazz hands. You are current.
So, I have a question. Edward Jazz Hands. I can understand the idea behind this, but no good is going to come of this. No. Is clapping not obvious to handicapped people? It does! I was just about to say that. Haha, Nico, you're thinking along the same level as me. I have no idea how to do jazz hands. I don't know what they look like. What if the person using sign language is cursing you out?
Advertising. Link. The unions say the loud noise created by clapping, including whooping and traditional applause, can pose an issue for students with disabilities such as anxiety or sensory issues. You are currently
Anxiety or sensory issues. Okay, I can understand, like, there are some people who have really bad, like, some autistic people, like, actually autistic people. It's like these people have never been on the internet, hooking up the internet. Yeah, no, Chadwick, you're right. Yeah. But seriously, like, I do know that some forms of autism have a problem with loud noises. Um, but like anxiety disorders, like, come on, you know what? Go see a doctor. Like, get if your anxiety is that bad that you can't be in crowds of people that are clapping, you obviously need to have some medication and or some counseling to figure out how to help yourself. So the handicapped are only deaf. What about the blind? Yeah, exactly.
link. In Read invented by Ted, the unions say the loud noise.
If they have jazz hands, if they do jazz hands, how do they know when people are clapping or when they're doing things on stage or listening to? I don't know. Yeah, my anxiety is that bad, so I avoid crowds of people. Yes, yeah, Pincalo's the same way. He does not like crowds. He does not do crowds. Um, Mine can get that bad. So on days where it is, I like I said, like you said, I don't go to crowds. I don't expect the crowds to change for me. I just stay away from people. Yeah. I wish there was more stores open at night here. So yeah, let's keep going
From
here.
now on, people will be urged to use quiet BSL clapping or jazz hands at student events, including debates, panels, and talks. It means students will wave their hands in the air rather than clapping or cheering. The union said democratic processes, such as student senate, should be accessible to all students, including those with disabilities.
Then you know what? Any signage, even if it's just a student handmade sign, I expect it to be in Braille from now on, even though the students don't know Braille because they're not blind and they're just trying to have some fun, um, and have a sign and show their appreciation or school spirit or whatever. I expect it to have Braille on it now. Do you see how stupid that sounds, people? I am agoraphobic among other things, so I will also give hugs over accepting them with Asperger's. Yeah. For me, night is worse. My aunt takes me shopping twice a month and I'm in and out. Yeah. I don't like shopping mostly because if I'm by myself, I have to ask customer service for help. And then I have to hope that the person gets me the correct thing that I asked for. And on more occasions than I'd care to count, I've had to return items because the person has told me that they've gotten what I've asked for and it hasn't been anything close to what I've asked for. So that's always fun. And it's also not very fun, like, at your womanly time to have to go and ask customer service to help you find the tampon aisle. It's not fun. So thankfully I have a sighted husband, but if I could, I'd just go grocery shop online. Yeah, I'm still in shock over that brain connecting shit. Yeah,
Complimentary. Heading level link.
got it.
End of advertisement. The policy passed at Senate. Resolved to swap audible clapping out for BSL clapping at SU events in order to make them more accessible. You are currently on a text element. Advertisement. Third-party ad to encourage loading. To encourage student groups and societies to do the same, and to include BSL clapping as a part of inclusion training. You are currently on a text loading. It's not the first time clapping has been banned from student events. Last year, the National Union of Students, NUS, proposed a similar motion due to clapping having a serious impact on some delegates' ability to access conference. You are heading level 5. Read more. Link. This.
Wow. Why are we coddling people now? What's the point? What's the point in that? I don't get it. Be like the baseball team, write it all in Braille and every other language. Yeah. In some areas, Amazon will send groceries to your house. Yep. Nico here being okay. It's called a pity party. Yeah. Because everyone gets a trophy for just being them. Yep. Absolutely. It's slightly terrifying. No, I didn't, Nico. Oh dear. I seem to have a low battery message. I shall return quite fastly from the other room with a or you know what? We'll go to my office with the uncomfortable chair and finish the stream in there cuz my charger's there. So, those are all the stories I've got for you guys today actually. There was a story I found last night, but it looks like it's a bit old, so I didn't want to share it. I didn't want to. Did I forget my phone in the other room? I did, so now I can't monitor chat. Way to go, Blind Press. Okay, Blind Press will return momentarily with the chat monitoring device. Because Blind Press is special. Okay, I have returned with the chat monitoring device, and Nico has just sent me something via Blind Press Reads. So let's go check that out. Let's go see. Let's see what this ridiculousness is. All right. Hot take. Oh God, this will be good. Okay, ready, guys?
Heading level 1. Hot take. Let's expand the definition of veteran to include social justice warriors. You are.
Fuck you.
Posted at 7:43 p.m. on September 29, 2018 by Brett Brew. Link. End of link. Link. Shares an anecdote about Blumenfeld about how he found himself behind it. Link. Dr. Warren J. Blumenfeld, editor of Homophobia, How We All Pay the Price and co-editor of Readings for Diversity and Social Justice. Link. Shares an anecdote at LGBTQ Nation about how he found himself behind a military veteran at the veterinarian's office and noted how the veteran was given a discount because of his service to the nation. That got Blumenfeld thinking about the word veteran and how it's unfortunately tied to the military and nasty military things like wars. Isn't it time to expand the definition of veteran to include those who advocate for change through peace? You are currently on it.
What? This has to be a Poe. That has to be a fucking Poe. People need emotional armor to deal with life, yeah. It reminds me of Zelda. Oh, eat a bag of Richards.
Twitter tweet. He writes, it is unacceptable when one's love of country is called into question when advocating for peaceful means of conflict resolution. It is also an act of patriotism to keep our brave troops out of harm's way, and to work to create conditions and understanding that ultimately make war less likely. You are currently on a text element.
So, because social justice warriors take part in psychological warfare and narcissistic gaslighting, and they attack people's jobs, and some of them are for doxing people and physically harming people, that makes them immigrant, or that makes immigrants, wow, that makes them freaking veterans. Are you serious? How is this not a Poe?
To be clear, I am not arguing that everyone be granted retail discounts by expanding our classification of veteran, or even that others acknowledge us for our service in working for a better and more just society. You are current, but take a few moments to consider those fighting a cultural and figurative civil war to reduce the violence and injustice and place the United States in higher standing around the world. You are current.
A cultural and figurative civil war. Watching my new cable infrastructure go into the ground while I'm listening. Well, I hope it works out for you. I hope your internet gets better. We call them at the Untermensch over here. SJW equals strange jerky wimps. Yeah. We sadly live in a world where the most absurd is reality. Yep. Yeah, this is as bad as Riley Dennis saying that stupid bitch is braver than any U.S. Marine. Yeah, that was fucking ridiculous. That was mind-boggling. They're on the losing end of the meme, so yeah, they are.
So how about it? Should we expand the definition of veteran to include those advocating for justice, freedom, and liberty through peaceful means? You are currently...
No, because you're not. And the thing about veterans is that they're fighting a war that someone is also fighting. You guys are just ranting and raving and causing shit, and everyone else is like, dude, we just want to live. Why are you, what? What the fuck? Why are you being so loud and destructive? What the hell? I think that reality is so. I think it's funny that the reality is so absurd. The Onion doesn't know how to parody it anymore. Yeah, I know, right? Because nothing you can come up with is as parody-like as what's actually happening. I can't stand the image of her, let alone the BS of what's in her mind. Yeah. Riley Dennis needs to deal with living in his new country. America never liked or wanted to deal with him.
Twitter tweet, frame, Twitter tweet, Twitter tweet, Twitter tweet.
Oh, it's
Twitter,
a whole
Twitter
bunch
tweet,
of
Twitter tweet,
tweets.
Twitter tweet, frame, Twitter tweet, frame.
It's a
You are
whole
currently
bunch
on the
of
frame.
tweets
To enter the
that
web
they've
area,
used
press Control, Option, Shift, down arrow.
as filler. Is there anything past this? No. Okay, so that story's done. But wow, that's crazy. Let's see what else. Let's see if there's anything else in Blind Press reads here. Because I think Pincalo sent me something. Yep, there it is. A clothing factory is producing clothing with superb stitching thanks to its factory of workers that are mostly. Why a clothing factory in New York hires blind workers? Okay, let's see. I actually like the ending. It reminds me of Mad Magazine. I can see that.
You are currently end of heading level 1. Why a clothing factory in New York hires blind workers to sew. Video start playback end of bit link. Link. A manufacturing factory in upstate NY is challenging stereotypes, employing a workforce mostly made up people who are visually impaired. You are currently.
They're challenging stereotypes, are they? They're challenging those stereotypes. Why don't you just say they've hired blind people?
500 see published Saturday. CTVnews.ca stat. Published Saturday. Last updated Saturday, September 29th. A clothing factory is producing garments with superb stitching. A clothing factory is producing garments with superb stitching thanks to its staff of skilled workers who happen to be blind.
So they just happen to be blind, do they? Look at that! They're just blind. Look at all these blind people working in this factory.
The backbone of the facility in Albany, upstate New York, is mostly made up of a non-sighted crew who do multiple jobs including sewing, stitching, and ironing. You are
sewing and stitching. Isn't that the same thing? Should I send you the article the doctor himself wrote? Twitter should go right down the shitter, to be honest. Why not, Nico? I'm gonna read this article here and we'll go back to that one.
The blind community suffers from a 70% unemployment rate, but at the front of the assembly line in Albany sits skilled seamstress Diane Hubbard. UFSK heading level 2. Related story. Link. With no sight, Diane is able to feel her way through each stitch. You are.
Yes. Most sighted people can do that too, and then
When you learn, you just get used to it, she said. We might do something differently than you, but the fact is we get it done. Unafraid of getting her fingers caught in the needle, the only thing helping her is a small piece of adaptive equipment. Chris Berg, executive director of the Northeastern Association of the Blind, explained how a low-profile fixture right next to the needle on the sewing machine is just enough to allow an individual to line up a zipper. His mission is to create as many jobs as possible for people who can't see. You are currently on. We change people's lives every day, he said. When I got here, they said, well, blind people can't iron. You are currently on it, but nobody told worker Lynette Stevens, who irons neckties for women's military uniforms made at the factory, and now all the ironing is done by people with no sight. You are currently on a text element. Inside, it shows the sighted world that the blind are perfectly capable, Stevens said. You are currently.
See, and the thing is about these organizations is that, like, there's a lot more of them in the States than there are in Canada, and the CNIB doesn't really do as much to get blind people employed as these organizations in the States. And it really sucks. Good grief, this annoys me. Yeah, it's a little sycophantic, and it's pretty sycophantic.
Neckties for the Navy, the Army, and the Marines are all made on this Albany factory floor. The sewing machine is more than just a needle and some thread. It's become a tool for mending a community who can see far beyond their challenges.
Oh, fuck off.
Covered added, we don't think it's amazing. It's a job we get paid for.
Thank you, blind person.
The jobs also come with full benefits. 500 link, heading level 3, top video, link, report error.
The jobs also come with full benefits. Oh, well, isn't that nice? You're doing things that you should do anyway, give people full benefits. Wow. Oh my. Reload. There it is. Is it time to expand the definition of veteran? No, I don't want to win a trip, you stupid bastard. Come on. All right. Here's the article by Dr. Blumenfeld.
I took my dog to our veterinarian for a yearly checkup examination. Afterwards, we stepped to the reception desk to pay our bill. Just ahead of us, the medical technician informed a man paying for his dog's medications that his bill included a 10% price reduction since he was a military veteran. I thought that this was not only appropriate, but that defenders of the country's security should be given an even greater discount. You are currently. I have long thought, though, about whom our country includes in its socially constructed category of veteran. Currently, that classification remains limited to those honorably serving in our armed forces. And yes, this service and this profession has traditionally been determined by our society as honorable and noble work. Why, though, have we circumscribed the parameters of veteran? Why have we so limited its definition? Symbolically, visiting Washington, D.C. highlights and exposes the demarcated confines of the nation's veterans through its gleaming and stirring monuments and memorials. Though certainly moving and appropriate, with some exceptions, they give testament to our nation's past wars, and honor primarily presidents who either served during wartime or achieved prominence in war. Therefore, the symbolic and literal narrative of our nation's capital speaks only part of our collective story. The fulcrum on which the foundation of this narrative rests represents an important, though incomplete, story primarily about white male leaders with armed conflict as the organizing principle.
And there it goes with the white male leaders. Cha-ching!
Take, for example, our most notable and visible monuments and memorials situated on the National Mall, standing tall and visible for miles around in every direction. The Washington Monument honors our first president, one of our founding fathers who organized and led what began as a ragtag, disorganized, and undisciplined array of resistors into an effective fighting force. The Thomas Jefferson Memorial, reflected in the tidal basin, gives tribute to the author of the Declaration of Independence, which sparked the War of Independence. The Abraham Lincoln Memorial, which greets visitors as they cross the Key Bridge over the Potomac River from Virginia into the district, memorializes the man who served over a divided land, and who eventually kept the nation intact during trying times. And the Franklin Delano Roosevelt Memorial, one of the most expansive in sheer acreage, gives homage to our longest-serving chief executive who presided during a time of great peril as ruthless tyranny threatened both domestic and world democracies. In addition, the World War II Memorial, situated directly between the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial, stands in tribute to the greatest generation of patriots who defeated the forces of tyranny and oppression continents away. The Korean War Memorial, located in the shadows of the Lincoln Memorial, keeps fresh the memory of those who made the ultimate sacrifice during the Cold War. The Vietnam Memorial, its black marble reflecting the faces of young and old as they come to witness the thousands of names inscribed on its surface, helps to heal some of the many wounds of a divided nation torn apart by war far from home.
How many more, are you just going to list all the memorials? Don't you dare suggest there's anything such a thing as a white propaganda, anti-white propaganda. Thanks, Cult of Krill. Don't worry about it. So basically, this doctor's trying to list all the memorials and invoke feels to get his point across. Oh, okay.
It is encouraging we can also find the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum, the National Museum of African American History and Culture, the Martin Luther King, Jr. Memorial, the National Museum of the American Indian, and soon, the Armenian Genocide Museum of America. You are currently...
Finally.
A small and relatively unknown statue stands at the east front portico of the U.S. Capitol called the Peace Monument, a marble sculpture constructed between 1877 to 1878 that includes 3 women, grief, history, and victory, and the inscription, in memory of the officers, seamen and Marines of the United States Navy who fell in defense of the Union and liberty of their country, 1861 to 1865. Can we as a nation begin now to consider expanding the category of veteran to include the diplomats and the mediators, those working in conflict resolution, and activists dedicated to preventing wars and to bringing existing wars to diplomatic resolution once they have begun? What about the practitioners of nonviolent resistance in the face of tyranny and oppression? You are currently on a text.
No, you're not. No, you don't get to be a veteran just because you didn't go to, because you talked and you demonstrated at home.
Individuals who stand up and put their lives on the line to defend our country from threats to our national security, as those in our nation's military do, are true patriots and veterans. But true patriots and veterans are also those who speak out, stand up, and put their lives on the line by actively advocating for justice, freedom, and liberty through peaceful means.
No, no, they're not. No, they are not. You don't get to just make up a definition for the word veteran. The American Genocide Museum of, or the Armenian Genocide Museum of America. Yeah, no kidding, right? The Young Turks are scum. Yeah, because Obama finally recognized that the Armenian genocide happened, and he apologized for the Americans' denial of it for so long. So, yeah.
Looking over the history of humanity, it is apparent that tyranny could only be countered through the raising of arms, on numerous occasions. However, diplomacy has been successful, and at other times, it should have been used more extensively before rushing to war. You are currently
on the text. That doesn't make diplomats veterans, you fool. It makes them diplomats. There's a reason there's a word for diplomacy and a word for war. It really does undermine what the military does, Nico. This is fucking sad.
It is unacceptable when one's love of country is called into question when advocating for peaceful means of conflict resolution. It is also an act of patriotism to keep our brave troops out of harm's way, and to work to create conditions and understanding that ultimately make war less likely. You are currently on a text.
Yes, but that doesn't make you veterans. It makes you the step before the people that become veterans come into play if it doesn't work. You cretin. Wow. Holy fuck. Holy fuck. That's all I can say. By that logic, journos could be fucking veterans. Yeah. Yeah, those journalists that go to the front lines, they could be veterans.
To be clear, I am not arguing that everyone be granted retail discounts by expanding our classification of veteran, or even that others acknowledge us for our service in working for a better and more just society.
Then why do you want to be called veterans, then? What's the point?
But take a few moments to consider those fighting a cultural and figurative civil war to reduce the violence and injustice and place the United States in higher standing around the world. You are currently...
You're not doing a very good job, by the way. You guys have Antifa, you guys have Black Lives Matter, you guys have the SPLC, you guys have, like, what the hell? Like, you guys are not doing a good job. You guys have all these universities that are basically continuing a generation of children. This is almost as funny as the SJWs, yeah.
Link. Share on Facebook. Link.
Oh, and that's the last of that was the end of the article. So yeah, that's wow. That's terrifying and sad all at the same time. You don't get to have You don't get to be called a veteran because you're a peacemaker, and you're not, and SJWs aren't being very peaceful. This world is going to shit, and we're supposed to think it's fucking great. Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong. Not wrong at all. Not wrong at all. Words used to have meaning. They did. I know, right? Like, what in my head hurt. And in hindsight is 2020. And even on history dealing with war, what do they want? I don't know. I taught in Korea for 15 months. I want a Purple Heart. Well, yes, exactly. Exactly, Alex. In a state funeral. You want the 21 guns and the flag wrapped around your casket and yeah, exactly. That's that's a special kind of special, that one. Um so yeah, that's all the articles I have for you guys. And as Nico did, if you guys find things throughout the day that you think I should cover, please send them to hashtag blindpressreads. And you can also tag me in the tweet as well, um, if you've got Twitter. And now we move on to the ending of the stream. If anybody's got any questions. The smartest people we're supposed to look up to also seem to be the dumbest. Yeah. I don't have Twitter, so yeah. Hashtag blind press reads. Yeah, if you don't have Twitter, well, then you can't do that. But for those of you who do have Twitter, send me stories at the hashtag blind press reads, and I will get to them on stream. Holy moly, there's a whole bunch of messages going back and forth in my Twitter group here. Who really should be the next PM of Canada? I need to look more into the platforms of the national parties right now. But I think that if things keep going the way they are, I think that Maxime Bernier guy may just end up being the next prime minister, because nobody wants to go back to the federal Conservative Party, but nobody wants Trudeau again, and the NDP or the Green Party, respectively, don't really have much of a good platform. So I think it may end up being that Maxime Bernier, I believe is his name. So I think that might blind press, obviously. I would make an amazing PM. Well, I would I certainly wouldn't put up with much crap. Is there any other way to send you articles other than Twitter? If you guys have Discord, Yeah, Discord. Ooh, Harry Potter RPG. Yeah, I can. Let me get my. If you guys have Discord, I'll put it. I'll put the what's it called? I'll put the link here in chat real quick. My goodness, I'm hungry. Copy. There you guys go. The link. I didn't have it set. The link will expire in a bit. So bye, Ghost Dog. So that's the Discord link. If you guys have Discord, you guys can pop into my Discord, and I will set up a channel for news stuff. I'm going to wrap up the stream now. Thank you guys for coming out. I hope you guys had a great time. I did. And we will see you tomorrow. See you later, Aries. Thanks for coming out. We'll see everyone tomorrow at 10 o'clock Eastern. And don't forget, on Friday, there's going to be a nice little debate about immigration. I'm a complete layman. I'm just going to be providing my views on things. So I'm please don't expect like a Sargon or not a Sargon, because Sargon can't debate to save his life. Don't expect like anything crazy good, but I will try my best. Later, Cult of Grills. See you later, Skep Talk. Thanks everyone for coming out. We'll see you tomorrow. Stay safe, everyone, and have a great day.